And let's do a brief introduction of Move Minneapolis. We're the transportation management organization for downtown Minneapolis, and our mission is to improve air quality and reduce congestion. We focus on commuting and reducing VMT, vehicles mile traveled. And we consult with downtown Minneapolis employers. We also put on webinars like this one and provide news and information via our newsletter, social media, and blog posts and website. We promote sustainable transportation through events and programming, such as Bike to Work Day, that's coming up on May 19th, Car Free MST coming up in September, and our annual Transportation Summit in the fall, and our Commute Ambassador Program. If you'd like to learn more about Move Minneapolis and how Move Minneapolis can help you or your organization with sustainable transportation options, feel free to email me anytime, or you can also go to the Move Minneapolis website, that's moveminneapolis.org. So what exactly is microtransit? I'll be introducing three experts who will be able to delve into the topic, but I wanted to share a couple of high-level observations. So microtransit provides on-demand ride service outside of fixed bus routes or schedules. It's similar to, but not exactly like ride-hailing services Uber or Lyft. Microtransit costs are similar to bus fares, about $2 to $5 per ride. Microtransit often fills that first mile, last mile transportation gap, and it helps provide transportation equity in the communities that they serve. This service reduces dependence on single occupancy vehicles and lowers overall emissions. Microtransit is a part of multimodal transportation mix. So microtransit entered into the Twin Cities region in 2015 when Southwest Prime started its service in Eden Prairie. Since then, all 5 transit authorities have added microtransit service to their areas. So Minibuses are crisscrossing 16 different communities. This would be from suburbs like Maple Grove, Chanhassen, and Burnsville to densely populated neighborhoods in North Minneapolis. Ridership is growing as passengers are discovering the ease and low-cost fares for booking trips to the grocery store or to work, or transferring to fixed route buses. New minibuses have been added to many of the fleets, and in fact, Minnesota Valley Transit Authority has just added its first all-electric 18-passenger minibus. It's a really exciting time for microtransit. So let's introduce our speakers today, and a big thank you, shout out to them for taking part. Patrick Chilton has served as Senior Manager of External Affairs for Minnesota Valley Transit Authority. While he is relatively new to working in public transit, he's been a regular rider for most of his adult life. Patrick has over a decade of experience in community engagement, political organizing, lobbying, and is excited to be working to improve and promote public transit in the Twin Cities. Matt Fyten is the interim CEO and Chief Operations Officer for Southwest Transit, where he directly oversees driver operations, planning, IT, dispatch, vehicle, and facilities maintenance. Matt is a graduate of the University of Minnesota's Humphrey School for Public Affairs, where he received a master's in urban and regional planning. Matt has spent his entire 13-year career at Southwest Transit, having started as a planning intern in 2009. And he served as project manager for Southwest Prime Microtransit service when it launched in 2015. Matt is also a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners, as well as American Public Transit Association's leadership class of 2022. And Victoria Dan joined Metro Transit in 2018 as a graduate intern in service development, where they continue on as a transit planner responsible for route planning in Northeast Minneapolis and the surrounding suburbs. In their role, they also manage Metrotransit Micro, the agency's first urban microtransit pilot in the Twin Cities region. Micro launched this past fall. And in addition to the transit authorities, where our three speakers are from, there is also microservice with Maple Grove's Transit My Ride and Plymouth Metrolinx Click and Ride. And with that, we're going to turn things over to Patrick.
Okay, does that look right?
That looks great. Thank you.
All right, thank you, John, and I apologize for the issues there. Thank you, John, for the introduction, and thanks to Move Minneapolis for hosting this event. As he said, my name is Patrick. I'm the Senior Manager of External Affairs for Minnesota Valley Transit Authority. And I'd also like to thank all of you for being here today and for wanting to talk about microtransit and for hearing a little bit more about the microtransit services being offered. For those who don't know, MVTA is the public transit provider for 7 suburbs south of the Twin Cities across Scott and Dakota County. Those suburbs are Eagan, Burnsville, Apple Valley, Rosemont, Savage, Shakopee, and Prior Lake. We also provide express service to both downtowns and the University of Minnesota. Before I dive into MVTA's Connect service, I offer to give a little history of the purpose and background of microtransit. So let's start with what is microtransit. John got at this a little bit, but ultimately it's an on-demand service that allows typical public transit to be viable in what are called difficult built environments. It was originally conceptualized as a first and last mile service to connect riders to existing fixed route service, but due to it being extremely flexible and the mobility needs of the public, it has evolved into a door-to-door service as well. Logistically, microtransit riders share a vehicle based on time and geographically clustered trips. And microtransit as a concept was born of trying to solve a long-standing transit issue of providing dynamic and flexible service that meets people where they're at and gets them where they're going affordably and reliably. Modern technology has allowed for a service like Connect to take shape, with phone apps allowing for riders to easily book a ride and scheduling / routing technology allowing transit administrators to organize rides efficiently. Historic attempts at solving this problem were things like Dial-A-Ride, which many of you may be familiar with. Microtransit is important for several reasons. Primarily, it helps public transit agencies fill the holes where fixed route service is difficult due to difficult built environments. And it helps to meet people where they're at with off-peak schedules, unique commutes, and mobility issues. Microtransit critically connects people to that existing service at a far more affordable rate than private on-demand services like Uber or Lyft. A bonus of microtransit is that it can result in a decrease in traffic, which helps cut VMTs and carbon emissions. I have used the phrase traditionally difficult built environments here a couple times. What you see on the screen here is what would be referred to as a traditionally difficult built environment. Fixed route service typically works best along gridded and consistent layouts at higher densities. All of those things are not what the suburbs are. Not only are suburbs typically laid out in a very inconsistent way and lack density, but the roads are often small, bendy, and difficult for 40+ foot buses to manage. Another challenge an environment like the suburbs provides is simply the distance between where people live and where they need to go. On the other end of the spectrum of those difficult roads to manage, there's the issue of what folks typically call stroads. If you don't know what a stroad is, and I'm guessing if you're here, you probably do, it's a cross between a street where that's typically defined as where multiple modes of transit are supported at low speeds and pedestrians can more easily move around, and a road, which is a higher speed connection between two places for vehicles, typically private vehicles. These exceedingly large roads that emphasize speed are often borderline impossible for pedestrians and bikers, and especially those with mobility issues to use safely. If a potential transit rider feels unsafe walking to and from fixed route service, that person is no longer a potential transit rider, ultimately. So now that I've gone into a little bit of the history of microtransit and kind of some purposes there, I want to talk about MVTA's Connect service. Connect started as a pilot in June of 2019, operating only in Burnsville and Savage, but that quickly scaled up to include more cities in our service area and dramatically more rides. Connect is zone-based, which is considered a best practice for on-demand microtransit, and you'll see a few visuals of the zones on our next couple slides. As you can see, it did grow very rapidly, going from 400 riders per month to almost 8,000 riders per month in 2022. Connect rides are $3 per ride, which is far, far cheaper than the average price of a private ride share, which is typically around $25 per ride. Further, a Connect ticket, and this is pretty common amongst microtransit services, includes a free transfer to our fixed route service. So a rider can more easily connect to the rest of the system. We currently operate 2 zones. I've got a visualization of the exact zones on the next slide, but you can see based on trip history where those zones might be right now. There's one Eagan zone, and then there's a Savage, Burnsville, Apple Valley, and Rosemont zone. Trips do not cross zones, but riders can ride to a fixed route service on microtransit, cross zones on that fixed route bus, and then ride again to get another Connect vehicle to take them the rest of their way if that's what they like to do. We recently implemented with our new Ride MBTA app a 3-hour booking window, which was a pretty substantial change from folks being allowed to book up to a week in advance. And since we've solely been running that 3-hour booking window, we have seen wait times cut by 5 minutes and no-show cancellations dropping it by 2%. And a no-show cancellation is when a driver or an operator has to cancel those rides themselves because of folks maybe forgetting that they had a ride or not knowing that the vehicle was there. To kind of explain this graphic for a second, the data we've gathered from Connect has shown us potential gaps in our fixed route service and actually helped to kickstart our ongoing County Road 42 BRT study. The map on this slide shows straight lines between origin and destination, unfortunately not exact trip lines, but you can kind of see the trends of where folks are going. And that orange line on the screen is a trend we saw of Connect trips along CR 42. And so you can see how easily a BRT style service or an express style service would fit in along that corridor. To further illuminate a bit of how Connect can serve as a first and last mile solution as opposed to just door to door, but also to show how it became that door to door option, I've included these 2 maps below. I'll let this slide linger for a few moments before moving on, but you can pretty much see how within a zone folks can with our fixed route service might not be able to access it from where they are within their zone, but can take a Connect ride directly to a fixed route and get into the rest of the system. As I noted earlier, Connect grew rapidly once launched. As our fleet grew from 2 retired cutaways in 2019 to 19 vehicles now, ridership grew along with it. From 2021 to 2022, where we had over 87,000 rides in a year, we saw 137% ridership growth. We're currently averaging nearly 300 riders per day. In fact, the 2 highest ridership days were this year and within about a month of each other, and both since the new Ride MBTA app and the new booking window was launched. February 9th, we had 359 successfully completed boardings, and on March 14th, we had 357. Which is pretty exciting for us. We were seeing those numbers come in and we're very excited. So I want to talk a little bit about the vehicles, and this is not going to be anything new, I think, for folks. If you've seen microtransit, I think the majority of most microtransit fleets are cutaways, as you see on the bottom left of the screen, the gray vehicle. A cutaway is a non-purpose built vehicle. It is a bus body built on top of a truck chassis. It's pretty similar to like small RVs that you often see, and ultimately does have typically the lifespan of those small RVs. Our other Connect vehicles are kind of a mix of vehicles like transit vans or just actual vans. Kind of ultimately, as we scaled up to meet demand, it was really whatever vehicles we could acquire and get on the street safely that could carry passengers in an accessible way. We're also operating the eJust minibus, which has been in the news quite a bit lately, and that's seen below. That is the orange vehicle, and we're operating that as a Connect vehicle during its demo. I'm happy to talk a little bit about that if there are any questions. Cutaways typically have a useful life between 4 and 7 years, and depending on the make and model, but once they're beyond their useful life, they really start requiring more significant time and money committed to maintenance. As a near perfect example of this, 6 of our 19 Connect buses are beyond their maximum useful life, and we typically have between 2 and 6 Connect vehicles in the shop and not running routes, which kind of gets to the ongoing issues that I'll talk a little bit by the end of this presentation. A little bit more about the vehicles here. On this slide, you can see the inside of a typical cutaway bus on the left with the greenish seats that are fabric covered. And it's the eJust minibus on the right. One thing that we really like about the eJust is you can see how much more like a standard bus it looks like compared to the cutaway. We do like this because a vehicle like this can help make the user experience standard across all modes of service. I'd like to touch briefly on the Ride MBTA app, which is how the vast majority of our users book and manage their Connect rides. This app was formally launched on January 30th, and the old app was formally phased out over the course of the following two weeks and is now no longer functional. This app is great because it's functionally one-stop shopping for Connect riders in that they can purchase a ticket, book their ride, and receive updates on their ride all in the app. They can also store payment options and purchase but unused tickets in the wallet, which again makes Connect much more easy to access for most folks. While our focus is on riders using the app to both book and pay for rides, we do still make allowances for those who don't have smartphones and may need to call in to book their ride. Riders can also pay by cash, whether they book in the app or not, which is very helpful. While we are working on implementing fixed route ticketing in the app, riders can still plan a fixed route service and can see how they could use Connect mixed with fixed route, both from MBTA and for other regional transit providers to do their trip. I've got some stats here from our ongoing rider survey about who rides Connect. I'm not going to go over each data point here because there's stuff on the screen. You can read them as you like, but there are a few that I'd like to point out. I'll start with 82% of Connect riders say they would have still needed to make their journey if Connect had not been an option, and 50% of those say they would have used Uber or Lyft if Connect was not an option. So thinking back to this, the difference in prices, that is a very substantial change, especially when considering this next data point, which is that 1 in 5 Connect riders has an annual income of less than $15,000, and just over half earn less than $50,000 a year. So Connect really can help folks who may be operating on a pretty strict budget and help meet their mobility needs. You can see some more of the demographic data on this slide, but I wanted to touch on one piece of data that I did not include, but I feel like really speaks to how transit can affect people and like the feeling of community. 47.5% of our Connect riders report that riding Connect makes them feel less lonely. Now, I don't think the assumption is that the other 52% are more or similarly lonely when they're riding our service, but I do think it's pretty illustrative of how transit can help create community and help folks feel more connected, not just to the places they're going, but to the community they live in. The primary issue for Connect, and in reality, all microtransit, is funding. There is no ongoing funding support for microtransit operations, Connect included. MBTA funds Connect ourselves at a rate of about $180,000 per month, again, with no external funding support. Dedicated funding for microtransit would allow fleet and service expansion and make transit more accessible for all Minnesotans. I think it's safe to say that microtransit is here to stay in Minnesota, and thanks to Southwest Transit for bringing it to Minnesota. But if we want to grow and be an effective transit option, we need to prioritize funding, we need to prioritize expansion, and we need to prioritize electrification to achieve the goals of microtransit, which is more options and better, more reliable, and more affordable transit coverage for our communities. My contact information is on this page, and I believe will be shared again at the end of the program. So please feel free to reach out. I look forward to your questions, and I'm going to stop the share and hand it over to Matt Fyten from Southwest Transit.
All right, thank you, Patrick, and thank you, John, for inviting me to present at this great event. Always happy to sit and chat Microtransit. I guess Patrick or John, can you confirm you can see my screen here? All right, beautiful. All right, so yeah, I am Matt Fyten, currently the interim CEO, and my typical role is Chief Operating Officer with Southwest Transit. Here to provide an overview of the Southwest Prime service, really give an overview of the types of services that we offer, and provide some more kind of operating insights that we've learned through our now 8 years of operating Microtransit. Some quick background on Southwest Transit. So we are similar to MBTA. We are a joint powers public transit provider for Eden Prairie, Chaska, Chanhassen, our three core member communities, I will say. We also serve the cities of Carver and Victoria under contract that we provide Southwest Prime service to those communities as well. We're governed by a commission consisting of 6 individuals appointed by our member cities and 1 rider representative. Again, we're a suburban transit provider, just like MBTA, established in the 80s under legislation that allowed for our existence, essentially. Southwest Transit was formed in 1986. I believe we were the second behind Plymouth to be created. We have a track record of being a national leader in innovation, technology, transit-oriented development. Obviously, I'm here to talk about Southwest Prime. We are the first transit provider in the region to introduce coach buses, Wi-Fi vehicles, and phone apps, all that good stuff. We're a provider of choice to numerous special events in our service area: State Fair, Twins, Vikings, Gopher football. We have a growing concert service that's becoming more and more popular as for large concert acts. We have over $60 million in assets, including 4 park and rides, and 1 operations and maintenance facility. Pre-COVID, we provided annually a little over 1.2 million rides. Quick overview of the services that Southwest Transit offers. Obviously, we're here to talk Microtransit, but we do provide express services to downtown Minneapolis, University of Minnesota. As I noted, special event services. We have a program called Summer Adventures, where we'll take community members out to various kind of family-oriented locations. The Como Zoo is very popular, so that's another service that we offer. And then, of course, I'm here to talk Southwest Prime and our various suite of services that we offer. But first, just a quick overview of Southwest Prime. So I think Patrick did a great job of explaining Microtransit, what's involved with it. We are a shared ride on-demand microtransit system. We were the first in the region, started in 2015. As far as I can tell, I think we were the first of its kind really in any public transit space across the nation when we started it in 2015. We provide on-demand rides to and from anywhere within the communities of Chaska, Chanhassen, Eden Prairie, Carver, and Victoria. It can be booked via a phone application similar to what Patrick shared, or we also have the call-in option as well. Easy number to remember, 952-SW-Prime. Ridership is currently at 150% of pre-pandemic levels. So we are now, in fact, I kind of joke that each day is a new record day for us. And in fact, this week, we did have our latest new daily record of ridership on Southwest Prime at just at 600 rides in one day. And it continues to grow. Service hours are Monday through Friday, 5:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then we also provide Saturday service, 6 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Southwest Prime rides, except for the airport service, which I'll get into, are $5 one way per passenger. And currently our average pickup wait time sits at 20 to 25 minutes, but unfortunately that is growing as well. As Patrick noted, that the service is just growing in popularity, and unfortunately there just aren't the resources available to meet some of that demand. So we are seeing those wait times creep up a little bit. First, I want to chat about the Southwest Prime airport service that we offer. So this service is really what I'm going to go through here is kind of a subset of service offerings that kind of fall under the Southwest Prime umbrella. There's the general Prime service, which serves those member communities anywhere. That's totally on-demand service, but we do have these subsets of services that I will explain in a little more detail. The airport service provides scheduled up to 14 days in advance or on-demand rides to either terminal at MSP Airport from anywhere in the Southwest Prime service area. So those 5 core member communities, you can be picked up anywhere within that service area and it'll bring you to the airport. Right now it's call only to schedule that service, but we are working on having that launch on the app in the coming months. We also offer park and fly at Southwest Station in Eden Prairie for just $5 per day or night. You can book return rides from the airport on demand when your plane lands. We are working on some innovations there related to a partnership with Lyft, which I will get into. And then the fares for this service, like I said, $10 per rider one way. Or once you reach 3, we just charge $30 for groups of 3 to 5. And then if you have more than 5, we're going to charge that additional $10. So we do have that group rate available. Another service that's offered under the Southwest Prime umbrella is a service we call Southwest Prime MD. This is our non-emergency medical service that is structured a little bit differently than the regular Southwest Prime service. So this provides shared ride service to medical facilities both in and around the Southwest Prime service area. So it's not just within, we'll go all the way out to Waconia at their medical center. We'll go down to Shakopee. We'll go over to Edina, Hopkins, Minnetonka, where you have really these kind of larger medical facilities. But we'll also take people to any of the clinics, smaller medical facilities within our service area as part of this service. So with this service, a little bit different. You can schedule, unlike regular Prime, up to 14 days in advance. Rides from are on demand. So you simply call when your appointment is over because nobody really knows how long their medical appointment is ultimately going to take. So we allow people to schedule there, but we don't allow them to schedule back because we know we can come pick them up generally within that 20-minute window that I referenced earlier. So when people are done with their appointment, just give us a call and then we'll pick them up within that 20-minute time window. This is offered Monday through Saturday, same hours as the standard Prime service. Again, call in only for now, but that should be changing relatively soon, and that fare is the standard $5 per ride. We also have a service that really was kind of born somewhat out of the pandemic and proved to be so popular that we have just kept with it. As those who recall during the pandemic, there was a need to ensure that people had access to essentially grocery facilities. And it was a potential issue, making sure that people had that ability, especially those with greater mobility needs. So we took a look at our service and we said, well, we have this 9 to 12 o'clock window on most days where we saw ridership dip a little bit relative to the rest of the day. Now I can say that's really not the case anymore. We really have sustained demand throughout the entire day, but nonetheless, we do provide discounted rides at $2.50 per ride, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. to select grocery stores and pharmacies within our core Southwest Prime service area. That one is call-in only, again, for now. Some of the locations, obviously, Cub Foods, Lunds and Byerly's, Target, kind of your primary, grocery stores and pharmacies that will provide these trips to. Certainly a popular service, particularly among the senior community, uses this quite regularly. Again, started as during the pandemic, but stuck around due to its popularity and frankly need as well. Another subset of services that we offer as part of Southwest Prime is what we have branded the Southwest Prime Edge service. So this is really, as we expanded the Southwest Prime service, particularly during the pandemic, you heard me discuss airport services, but this is really even beyond that. So we go to most of Shakopee, all of Edina, along the 494 corridor, think, quarter mile kind of north and south of the 494 corridor, down to the Mall of America. Also, Normandale Community College is included in this service. So really those areas that we look to expand beyond our core service area fall into this edge service area. And one caveat with this service is that the rides have to begin or end within that 5-member community service area. So Eden Prairie, Chaska, Chanhassen, Carver, Victoria, all rides either need to start or end there. So we won't provide, for example, a Shakopee to Edina ride. That's just frankly because of how, the boundaries that exist within public transit governance within this region. So that's why it's set up that way. I think I'll just add to this, this one does allow for same-day scheduling. not that 14-day window, but you can schedule service on the same day. So a little bit different from the standard Prime service, which is only on demand. This service will allow us to schedule that same day. I do want to touch on something that's going to be launching here really hopefully sometime this next month. We have recently entered into a partnership really with our microtransit software provider, which is Spare Labs. They have an agreement with Lyft. Oh, apologies. That allows us to access really the whole entire Lyft fleet in a sense as part of our microtransit services. So really the goal of this is to increase our vehicle supply, which is an issue right now, offer customers more options, obviously reduce wait times, remain cost effective, and of course demonstrate an effective public-private partnership that we believe it will. We will be piloting this concept on our airport service that I referenced, as well as our edge services, primarily because we see there being frankly more supply of Lyft vehicles as part of those services. It also will allow us to keep our core vehicles more in our core service area with the hopes that the Lyft fleet will pick up some of those longer trips, which will therefore make the service more cost effective for us overall. What's kind of unique about this setup is that it will be housed completely within the Southwest Prime app, so you don't have to go to a separate Lyft application or get a voucher or any of these. There's a lot of different setups across the country with this, but this is really the first one I believe working with Spare that it's really completely within the Southwest Prime ecosystem. So how it'll work is that riders will put in their origin destination, and if they fall in those service boundaries, they will essentially get two options. They will get the standard Southwest Prime ride or a Lyft option with a cost for the Lyft ride. If they select the Lyft ride, how it will work is the rider will for sure pay the first $5, similar to the Southwest Prime app, or sorry, not app, fare. And then the Southwest will cover up to an additional $10 of that Lyft ride. So total of $15 under this example. And then anything above that $15 threshold, the rider would pay the remaining Lyft fare for the total ride of the cost to Lyft. Obviously with the airport, for this, it would be $10 plus that additional $10 and so forth. Again, we see this launching in April as a pilot, and we're curious and excited to see how this goes. Then lastly, I just want to touch on, having been involved with microtransit really for as long as I think probably anybody at this point. Some of lessons learned, just high level kind of musings, I'll say, at my time working on microtransit, just for some considerations. And I will say that one, service area does matter. There is not an optimal microtransit service setup. I think you'll hear from Patrick and you'll hear from Victoria, two different service setups that are a little bit different than Southwest Prime, but it's what works under those service characteristics. So it's not a one size fits all proposition. It needs to be tailored to the size and demographics of a particular service area. I've always found that a bigger service area is generally better, but not always. Better in terms of just creating a larger potential demand for the service. But of course, you don't want to overscope your services in fear of that you may not have the resources to serve the demand that may not exist. Also, the trip under my next bullet, service purpose also matters. So what is the goal of the service? Is it general mobility, first mile, last mile? Is it medical? Is it commute? Each microtransit service across the country will have its own kind of flavor of what the overall goals are. So really the answers help guide the setup details of the service. So it's, again, as you can tell the theme here, it's not a one size fits all proposition. And then I will say the software, really the brains behind the service, the algorithms that are making the routing decisions, the batching decisions, and how the service is actually operated and tell the drivers where to go. It's obviously an incredibly important part to these services. There are several software vendors that are out there. They all have their own algorithms and decision-making ways that they think, and not all of them are the same. Southwest Transit has a history. We are very pleased with our current provider, Spare, but we had a previous provider that was very kind of set to serve. It was a software provider that was built to essentially serve downtown San Francisco. Obviously, Eden Prairie, Chaska, and Chanhassen have a very different geographic land use roadway network compared to San Francisco. So some of the decisions that software was making didn't make any sense in our service context. But so making sure that the software that's in place is making the right decisions for the service area that the service is being offered is incredibly important. And then finally, I'll just say leadership buy-in ultimately matters. Southwest Prime came about really from the priorities set forth by our commission, really, straight from the top in terms of that. They wanted us to figure out how do we provide an effective local service. We had for years tried suburban local circulators and different types of various local services in our communities, and it just wasn't proving cost effective. So it really was a top-down push from our commission to say, you need to figure out a solution that can be cost effective and still provide that local mobility. And that's ultimately why we were willing to take that leap into the microtransit space so early on. And so thank you. I obviously look forward to answering any questions the group has. Let me stop my share here. And I will hand it over to Victoria.
Thanks, Matt. It has been really great to hear more about both Southwest and MVTA's microtransit services being offered. Clearly, there's a lot of variety, and you'll hear more about that variety here. I am sharing my screen now, so hopefully you all are seeing that. Chime in if you don't. Today, I'm going to talk about Metrotransit Micro, which is a pilot that brings on-demand service to a portion of North Minneapolis. So today, I'm going to cover a lot of sort of the customer-facing side of Metrotransit Micro, how to use it, what's important to know if you're a first-time rider, and then we'll end with some considerations for, what's the future potentially for Metrotransit Micro. Oh, sorry, I forgot to start my video. Here we go. Now you can see me. I will also mention upfront that Metrotransit Micro is a pilot. We launched in September of 2022, and we are roughly halfway through our 12-month pilot period. So more to come on that at the end of this presentation. So Metrotransit Micro is a 12-month test program, as I mentioned. It is on demand, so users can request a ride right when you need it and be picked up in a few minutes. So what that means is essentially this software will not propose a ride for you if it's not within a 30-minute pickup window. So you can expect a pretty fast turnaround for that trip. It's also app enabled, as is the same case with MBTA and Southwest. This means that you can download the smartphone app to your phone and create an account and get started with booking rides. It's algorithm powered. The technology matches your ride with the vehicle in real time to optimize your experience, optimizing in terms of both reducing your wait time and optimizing how long you're on board that vehicle before you get dropped off. And finally, it's a ride share. So you spend less time waiting for your ride by sharing your vehicle with others. So say you have requested a ride and there's a Metrotransit Micro bus 2 blocks away and it's carrying another party headed somewhere else. Instead of waiting for that bus to finish dropping off that person at wherever their destination might be, that bus could be assigned to pick you up and you'll share a ride with that other party. So now that we've covered some of the basics of how Micro works, we'll go into more detail about how you can access this service. So where and when can I ride? We have a pretty compact service area in North Minneapolis. We actually recently expanded at the end of February to roughly double the size of our service area. So it's about 5 square miles. So this zone is bounded approximately by 34th and Lowry Avenues to the north. To the east, we have I-94 and the Mississippi River. To the south, I-394 and Dunwoody College. And to the west, Xerxes and Vincent Avenues, otherwise Theo Worth Park and the Parkway there. You must also search for a ride within the span of service. At the end of February, we also modified our span of service to more closely reflect ridership on the system previous to expansion. So Monday through Friday, we operate 5:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. and Saturday through Sunday, 7 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. What that means is that when you open up your app, make sure to open it up no earlier than 5:30 a.m. on weekdays and no earlier than 7 a.m. on weekends, or else you'll get a message that will say that there's nothing available because no buses will be on the street yet. And then at the end of the day, at 10:30 p.m., 7 days a week, you won't necessarily be able to book a ride at 10:30 p.m., but you should keep in mind that that is the time when you should probably expect to be dropped off at your final destination. So you might want to start looking at maybe 10 p.m. or maybe even a little bit earlier, just so that you know that you have that 30-minute window that the software can offer any options for a ride. So how do you book a ride? Once you have downloaded that app to your phone and create your account, you'll get started on booking your first ride and all your subsequent rides after that. So here you'll see my account. It says, "Hi, Victoria, where would you like to go?" You can search for a destination by address or like the name of a location. You can also favorite locations in the app too. You'll see that you can have a home address, a work address. There are even places of interest that are defaults in here, and that might also be populated from your frequent locations as well. You can even drag and drop the pin in the map to approximate locations, and it'll snap to an address associated with either your trip origin or destination. The next screen that pops up once you set your trip points will be to add any optional details about your pickup or drop off. So say, you really don't want to be missed by your driver when they come to pick you up. So here I've written here, "I'll walk up from the back door." Maybe it's IZ in the front door and you're going to come around the other way. "Please look for me in a yellow jacket." You can leave any kind of comment like that, or perhaps, "I'll be at the second door to the left," or maybe you're at a campus and it gets a little bit complicated. You can provide those notes to help dispatch and help your driver locate you where you are. Next, you can add additional riders to your party. So these are people who are going to be riding along with you from origin to destination. You can add up to 4 additional riders. Maybe it's a friend, family, companion of any kind. You can also add wheelchair users to your trip as well. And then finally, once you've added all the details that you want, you can search for that ride, and the software is going to offer you some proposals. Here we have 2 examples: book a seat in 10 minutes and book a seat in 3 minutes. So you might have a choice depending on how many vehicles are out on the street and how many are available to maybe pick you up in the next 30 minutes. So you can make that choice. And once you decide, if you do decide to book that ride, you'll start to see information about your vehicle, where it is in real time, and your estimated time of arrival as that vehicle gets closer to your pickup. You can always decide not to take the ride. You can just click the back arrow and exit out. Maybe you decide, "I actually don't want to travel right now. Maybe I'll do it later," or "I found another way to get to my destination." But if you did book that ride and you get to the pickup location, you meet your driver, how do you pay for your ride? It works a lot like a regular bus. If you're familiar and have been on a Microtransit bus before, it comes equipped on these Microtransit micro minibuses. They have both fare boxes and go-to card validators, which you see on any typical fixed route bus. So at the fare box, you can use cash. They also would accept any other existing fare media like tokens or tickets. And if you have a go-to card, we accept all passes, including TAP cards. TAP stands for Transit Assistance Program, which provides $1 discounted rides to people who participate in this program. It also includes all the other passes that exist: College Pass, Metro Pass, Student Pass. If you are a student at a school, at a university or college that participates in the Universal Transit Pass program, you can also use that student ID that has a Universal Transit Pass on it to board on this service as well. The other option available is if you have the Metro Transit mobile app on your phone too, you can use that ticket on your phone to pay for your ride. I'll note here that there is a difference between the Metro Transit mobile app and the Metro Transit micro app. On the bottom of the screen, you'll see that the Metro Transit app, where you would have mobile tickets, it has an icon that is a red circle T over a dark blue background, whereas the Metro Transit micro app, where you book microtransit trips, is a smaller red circle T over a light blue background with the word micro underneath. So different apps to accomplish some different purposes there, but know that you can use them in combination. So the fares are the same as local buses, $2 non-rush hour and $2.50 in the rush hours. But again, if you have discounts or passes, those are all valid on this service as well. Is there anything else you should know? Definitely. So if you don't have a smartphone, I've talked about the app a lot. It's not a problem. As long as you have access to a phone, you can call 651-602-1170 and talk to a live reservationist, and they will make that booking for you. If you call from your phone, a reservationist can always call you directly back with information about your trip or to troubleshoot any issues that do arise with your pickup. If you did have a smartphone, the dispatch can also send you messages as well about your ride, should anything need to be troubleshooted during your pickup process. If you use a wheelchair, I'd mentioned that you can add wheelchairs to your ride reservation when you book your trip. Every micro minibus has 2 wheelchair spaces available. As a user, you can toggle in your account wheelchair use in your account settings. Anytime it's not set in stone, you can turn it off one day and turn it on the other. And also, I would emphasize that rideshare isn't always direct. So on-demand rideshare responds to live requests. And so unlike a private taxi where you go from your origin directly to your destination, a single party on that trip, you may be detoured to serve other riders. So that's, again, part of that function of optimizing your wait time by sharing that trip with another traveling party. What are riders saying about micro? On the whole, micro riders have been satisfied and happy with our service, and that is reflected in the post-ride ratings that our riders provide, as well as some of the great comments that come through the app and through other communication channels. So on average, micro riders are rating their trips 4.9 out of 5 stars, where the most kudos are going to the commend the great quality of drivers on this service. I'll mention that Metro Transit Micro is operated by a transit team, which has a garage based out of the North Loop. They're also a local provider for Metro Mobility, which is a 88 paratransit service. So they've been excellent partners in operating this pilot, and their operators are highly trained in delivering the kind of high quality service that riders have come to expect on Micro. So other kudos go to the quick trip, comfy ride, and clean vehicles that riders experience with this service. A couple of just brief comments from longtime riders. One from a rider who's been riding with us since September when we launched, says driver is very friendly and courteous. He helped me with my shopping cart. And another rider who's been with us since November of 2022 commented that this is a fantastic service. So finally, as I get to the end, what happens to this test program next? Kind of the big question mark. As I mentioned, we're halfway through this 12-month pilot. This spring, we'll be surveying riders and doing a kind of broader community survey as part of our mid-pilot evaluation. We want to know who's riding this service, for what purposes, and where are they going. We want to know how much this service is costing and how efficiently it's being delivered in the service area. And we also want to know, relatedly, how Metrotransit Micro relates to other services that are available in the pilot zone. So Metrotransit Micro, as you may suspect, serves an area that is served by a number of local fixed route bus services, including transitways such as C and D line, arterial bus rapid transit. And it's also served by dollar ride service, Metro Mobility, which, as I mentioned, is ADA paratransit. So there are a lot of implications here that we're hoping to dive more deeply into this spring. With that information that we are going to be collecting, analyzing, and evaluating, we're going to take that to a summer decision to determine next steps for this pilot. What does Metrotransit Micro look like at the end of that 12-month pilot period? There's a whole universe of possibilities out there, and those are yet to be determined. All right, well, that's all I have for today. I'm very excited and looking forward to the questions that might come through. Also, feel free to reach out to me directly.
Well, thank you very much, Victoria and Patrick and Matt. We have well over 20 questions in about 4 minutes to respond. So here's what we're going to do. We'll answer some questions from the panel, but we will also be putting in many of the questions and answers in the email that will be going out with the link to the YouTube video of the webinar. So watch for that sometime tomorrow when it goes out. And so we'll try to get to as many questions as we can. And panelists, if you can chime in. One of the questions that we received, can the panelists explain how the programs are funded?
I can just say quickly, Patrick, I think did a good job laying out his. It's really just with our standard, revenue, which for public transit in this region is generally motor vehicle sales tax is how we are funded. There are some FTA funds, some Met Council funds related to capital purchasing, but primarily just through the standard motor vehicle sales tax. So really for us, it's been having to reallocate funds from other services to make it work.
And I would just second what Matt said there for MVTA.
For Metrotransit Micro, so it's called Metrotransit Micro, but it's actually a partnership between Metrotransit and Metropolitan Transportation Services, another division under the Met Council. So the funds for operating are coming from MTS, whereas the funds for software, marketing, branding, communications, everything else comes from Metrotransit.
Here's a question for Patrick. What percentage of the fleet is EV?
So our current Connect fleet, I don't know what the percentage would be off the top of my head, because it's only one vehicle that is currently electrified, and that's the eJust, which is just being demoed. But as I said, that is a goal to move towards more electrification and more modernization of that fleet.
I'll just add to that quick. I forgot to mention for Southwest, we have about 10% of our fleet right now is electrified. I had a vehicle on there that was one of our electric vehicles, but currently operating 3 on the service with a goal to completely convert everything to electric by 2040.
Wonderful. Here's another question. Is there an affordability program offered? And I think some of you touched on that.
For Southwest Transit, we do offer what we call really just broadening the region's what they call TAP program, Transit Assistance Program. We offer that on Southwest Prime, which provides half price rides, $2.50 per ride to those who qualify. Really, meet certain income thresholds to qualify for the program, and then they're able to get Southwest Prime rides for $2.50.
And MBTA, so obviously our tickets again are $3 fare per ride. We don't have any on ongoing support programs that like that what is being asked about. However, we do partner with vocational schools, senior living facilities to work with those organizations to provide riders free rides at the point of use for them, and then working with them to bill on the back end.
All right. Well, I'm going to unfortunately have to end it there. We are out of time. I do want to thank all three panelists. We will have contact information in that email, so you would be able to follow up with any emails along with answering some of the questions that we weren't able to get to today. So watch for that. And again, thank you for attending. We had a lot of interest in this topic. Obviously, it's something that's new and it's growing in the Twin Cities, and it's very exciting. It's a wonderful mix to our multimodal system. And the link to the recording will be emailed to you tomorrow. And to stay connected with Move Minneapolis, please look up moveminneapolis.org. We also are active on several social media channels. You can please sign up for our newsletter, and that comes out monthly, and our many events that we've got going on. So in the meantime, thanks again for everybody in participating and attending, and hopefully we'll be able to do a follow-up Microtransit sometime in the near future, and be able to delve into how everything's expanding. Thanks again. Take care.